want to show you I'm set up with the same setup I was on my last part 3. This is going to be part 4, but I'm set up AC this time, directly from the transformer into the electrodes, no DC. My bridge rectifier, I bypassed it. I thought my transformer was getting hot last time. What happened was my fabulous lab doesn't have climate control, no air conditioning, no heat. And so I shut the fans off so I can do my filming. A bead of sweat fell on one of my 20,000 kV kilovolt diodes, and somehow it burned it up. I don't think it crossed them over. I don't know what it did, but that's what my problem was. I got a bad diode. So I've got one on order to go back to DC. But I wanted to try this AC anyway. So I'm directly AC, straight off the transformer, the red leg to one steel ball, and the black leg goes straight to the other. And I get different results with AC than I did DC, for one thing. The second thing is I've changed my setup. This ball is solid, if you see the S. This one's hollow, this one's solid, and then the big one, of course, is hollow. And I've tried it with, you know, different configurations of different ones being solid, like these two solid, this one hollow, this one hollow, this one, these two solid. And I get a little bit different results with AC, and I haven't tried a lot of swapping these up with DC because my rectifier, one of my diodes, burn out. And I will go back to that as soon as I get a diode in. But I wanted to show you what AC does in the same situation we did with DC, but with a little bit different setup of solid and hollow balls, which what I think is the difference is the density of the steel, makes it where it's positioned in the lineup, makes it a difference on how the arcs happen and how the electromagnetic push and pull, the attraction, repulsion, how that works. I don't know if it's all electrically configured or also with the elemental composition or the size. And I'm talking about as the planets happen, not so much the balls here, the steel balls. You know, what the planet's made of, what its atmosphere is, how the ground and the passing works, and the internal, if you know my theory, the internal, any planet that's spinning, rotating like the sun and all planets, if it's got its own rotation and it continues that rotation, it has a magnetized core that's got a magnet in the middle, a huge magnet. But anyway, I want to show you what AC does on this setup too, and we'll do a little bit of that now. Okay, with the solid ball, hollow ball, solid ball, and then of course the big one's hollow. I don't have a solid big one for Saturn. Anyway, I'll turn the power on. Power's on. Nothing happens. But if I push these three together and get it started, it's not like the DC. The repulsion's there and the attraction's there, but with AC, it's not as prominent. And you'll see it loses its momentum sooner than the DC does. And the DC actually never lost momentum. It just kept pushing. And this will go back and forth. And like I may have them a little farther apart. The weight distribution's different because I've got solid and hollow. But it works different AC than it does DC. So it tells me that there was potentially a difference in when this happened with the planets. Some of them acted AC, some of them acted DC. In other words, sometimes the charge went from one to another and it was shooting back and forth because they were more balanced, if you know what I mean. AC's back and forth. So if the two planets are basically balanced, like Earth and Venus possibly were, Mars could have been the differential that made the AC turn to DC, and maybe it went back and forth between Venus and Mars rather than going on to Earth like a DC wants to go one way. Anyway, that's what I'm going to show. AC just doesn't hold up like DC as far as my experiments are showing. Now, let me swap a couple of these around and show you what that does. Okay, now I've got a solid ball, and the hollow balls there between the big hollow and the two solids. So this little one's hollow, this one's hollow, Saturn, as you know. But these two are the solid ones. And we'll see what this does. Power's on. And it'll act a little bit differently from the pendulum motion. I know, guys. I understand all that. What I'm saying is there's a difference on how the AC and DC makes the pendulum action continue or get re-instigated. It makes it continue. And the positioning of the solid and hollow balls makes a difference. To me, that's the difference between the elemental composition and the size of the planet, the size of the magnetized ferrite core, and everything. All that is, you know, I have no idea how to compute that. But you can hear a buzz every time they get close to each other. But this will get out of phase pretty quick with the two big ones on the end. If you noticed before, it stayed in phase almost till I shut the camera off. This will get out of phase pretty quick. I'll let it run a minute. So you'll see it'll get out of phase again and won't spark. And it's already done so, pretty much. So we were lucky that Mars happened to come in with the density it is between Venus and us, when this all happened to correct it, or to stop Venus from really tearing up the Earth in itself. It's like suicide for Venus and murder for Earth. Mars came in and was the warrior. So that's the end of that. I can swap some more around. I think with AC, it's harder to show the electromagnetic repulsion. You see it here. It's still happening. The bigger steel one, solid steel, is pretty much stopped moving. But this little bitty one, which is more like the shape of the size of Mars, a lot smaller than Earth or Venus, it keeps moving. It's that electromagnetic repulsion and attraction from the positive of Earth. It keeps moving. So I don't know, you know, what the electrical charge was between Saturn and Venus, and then up to Mars and then to Earth exactly. But you see here, Mars is the last one to quit moving if I make it the solid one between Earth, Mars, and Venus. Remember, this is the hollow one, solid, but this one's a little smaller, the Mars one in this particular situation. Anyway, that was AC. And every other configuration I've done, as far as these four together, DC did a little different than AC, but I think it depends on density, distance, and the AC-DC makes a difference also. You know, whether it's DC going one way or AC going back and forth. So I'm not sure, but it still shows you that these things can have a difference depending on which way that current wants to flow and how dense these three planets are, especially when this one stays the same. So I don't know. It's just showing more. I'm trying to figure out more and more of it. Here's my purple unicorn pointer outer, and laters.